Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for attending. We look forward to an interesting panel in debt collections and innovations. Um, Debt collections and innovations, debt collection has always been a process-driven mandate, and as in many cycles, processes often means technology. What we want to do today is look to explore what has changed with the recent technology advancements and innovations. And I'm delighted to have this distinguished panel to support me to present this. My name is Clarence Dixon. I work for CBRE. For those of you who don't know, CBRE is a global real estate advisor. Within CBRE, we have a commercial real estate debt platform which manages about $350 billion of commercial real estate debt globally, about 70 billion or so in Europe and 16 jurisdictions, and I run that globally. I would ask each of the panelists to spend a moment, literally a moment,
Okay.
to introduce themselves individually, starting with Susanna.
Hello, my name is Zuzana Burmakinova. I am here to represent A-Story, a debt collection technology solution provider. I am very happy to have the opportunity to discuss with my colleagues about the topics and the innovations in the debt collection. So hopefully you will enjoy it.
I'm Jelle Dekkers, Chief Operations Officer for Hoist Finance, operating out of Amsterdam, where I'm also country manager for Benelux. We have about 6 million clients in over 13 European jurisdictions and about 3 billion of remaining ERC. Here to talk about innovation opportunities that we see in the industry.
Hi, I'm Matthias Gerhardt. I'm from Troy. Troy is a digital startup in the collection space in Germany and the Netherlands. Our vision is to become the friendliest debt collector in the space, and I'll explain later as we go along, and I can contribute to the discussion. What we mean by that mainly means transparency, eye level, and a still firm grip on what's at hand. Nevertheless, I'm very excited to be here on the panel, also given we are a small startup here.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Johannes Wolfslehner. Honestly, personally, I'm sitting here today here with part of a mixed feeling. The day couldn't have started worse, actually, right? But on the other hand side, I'm excited to be here. It always feels like a new normal after 2 years of absence of these types of panels. So happy to be here to cooperate and to discuss with you. Chief Technology Officer of Axfina Holding SA, who we are. We have been established by the end of 2019, a asset and loan servicer, and we are currently present with operations across 7 markets in Central and Eastern Europe, with the latest market entry in Romania. We have 3 types of products. Firstly, it's receivables management loan servicing. Second is our own proprietary software that is a digital debt collection software as a service that we provide. And thirdly, business process outsourcing offering. Always and all our attention focuses on innovation by technology to ultimately drive financial inclusion.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Mark. I'm CEO and co-founder of Ecollect. Ecollect is a Swiss-based receivables management platform. We are a tech-enabled business process outsourcing partner, and we have operating hubs in Germany as well as in Sofia. And on the platform, we are processing the service of invoicing, dunning, and pre-legal to legal collection with different currencies and different languages in more than 30 countries. I've been in this industry since more than 20 years. Before joining Ecollect as CEO and also found the company, I was an executive board member of Laul. So I have like the old traditional collection industry in myself, but also the new one, and happy to be here today.
Good, thank you all. I'm going to throw out a general question that actually wasn't pre-discussed so that really anybody can answer. We were talking, if you listen to the introductions, you've heard 3 keywords: startup, tech, innovation. And while there are 3 key keywords that have always been used, when you think about the old industry compared to the new industry, they've always been looked at and transported differently. So my first question is, how has technology changed the way the debt collection world compared to, let's say, 5 years ago? Let me start with you, John.
Yeah, I can start. It depends a bit on where you look, because in some countries we're still not so, let's say, digitally adapted as in others. But for a company like Hoist, it all revolves around the way we communicate with customers and have evolved in that, the way we're able to create solutions that allow the customer to self-serve, and the way we leverage data to let's say continuously change and improve processes in the way we communicate, when we communicate, and even at which time of the day we communicate.
Mark?
Well, I think, it has become the part of the customer journey where clients are asking for, And I think with the technology in place, you can somehow enlarge the customer journey upfront, also due into the collection area. And I think this is a very important KPI also on the client side. And I think this is where technology will give us. So it's like you just mentioned, communication, data-driven, but also the smooth integration into the clients will become more and more, is already one of the top 3 KPIs I have experienced in different countries.
How about you, Susanna?
Actually, I would say that from this perspective, we are hearing and seeing actually the customer journey importance and the interconnection of the behavioral data and mapping them into the processes, not only in the customer management, but even in the debt collection already since like 2007, even maybe like sooner, because they are the first times when even the fintechs arised. And as was even mentioned in the previous panel, this is the segment and the area where there is a urgency or need for appropriate solution, which is creating the demand on it. And the innovations are actually very, very needed. From this perspective, for example, having an open system, being able to have a plug and play like through the API or XML data exchange is very important, and it's important already since then, because as I recall, like most of the fintechs, they had already the API in 2010 and they were using it heavily, even though that the other standard like market players were not much prepared for it. So this is something what each, like I would say, technological solution provider and even market player has to face. What innovations I really would like to have, which of them are actually the cost-effective solutions from the perspective of my business, and which of them could be actually outsourced or actually done other way, because or partnering or composing several different solutions into one that is bringing in state-of-art delivery of the service.
Okay. Johannes, how do you have 2 counterparties? You have your corporate client, but you also have the debt owner. How do you increase your relevance to those parties by increasing the data, the value of the data and the insight that you introduce with your value-added products?
Absolutely. No, this is pretty much as well in line with how has technology shaped basically the collection industry. Basically at AxFina we have a look at innovation and technology from 2 perspectives. First one, and I think this has been addressed here widely, is around to build a real customer-centric collection approach, right, with all the aspects and that this brings along. And secondly, it is about to make benefit of all the insights that you gain with the data at the end of the day, via adding products that go beyond collection. Because we have collected a lot of data on the behavior of the customer, on the payment patterns, access to open banking, for example, to make more use out of it. So basically, the relevance at the end of the day, a collection company in a traditional sense is a kind of a facilitator to bring together a deal between the individual in most cases or a corporate company and the creditor, right? Basically here, you can, as a debt collection company, add 2 key elements of additional value. Firstly, it's around automation, digital-first collection approaches. What does that mean? And what does this enable? This enables that we can basically extend the life cycle of services provided to a corporate customer, i.e. make us more relevant, i.e. not starting just in the amicable collection and then heavily kicking in the enforcement and legal collection, but add additional services that already start earlier, each in the monitoring phase, in the loan management phase, with automated processes at the super low cost that basically ultimately have the target to reduce the delinquency rates of the customers, right? So this is one, so extend with technology the value proposition to the corporate, extend the process that we cover. And secondly, it's around finding the best deal for both parties, for the creditor, for the individual, making use, what I mentioned before, of the data that is available. And there are more options than, you know, just facilitating a payment, yeah, or providing. Key is to define the next best offer, the next best option for the customer. And this is based on data, and here we can tap into the insights to the customer with providing as a loan servicer, lending near products, yeah, that enable a high recovery on the one hand side for the creditor, and enable the individual to find a term that they can actually meet. What do I mean with that? It's about, you know, providing payment holidays, providing repayment plans and payment deferrals, for example, where we can make use of behavioral data from the customer, look up. It's a very relevant technology innovation here as well, with combine it with open banking data to see actually how much a person can actually afford to repay in the repayment plan. And it's about providing at a certain stage as well the opportunity to customers to consolidate the debt with us. Thus ensuring, you know, basically the creditor getting the recovery, and thus providing them basically the funds to the customer.
But if you are extending that, for example, to consolidating the debt, is that, from a technology perspective, I get that, but you're getting into another contractual arrangement, which is kind of outside of that debt process, because you're basically starting from scratch.
Correct.
So that's what you mean by extending services and adding value-added services.
Correct, because ultimately it's always what we want to achieve is to bring back the customer to the financial ecosystem, right? And these are often people that basically lack any access to credit at a reasonable price, at least. And that is, we exactly have here basically the best insight into this niche to propose this kind of offering. So indeed, it's one extension of the process that we can support in terms of collection, starting already earlier, for example, in the loan management and monitoring, and secondly, providing additional products that go beyond the traditional collections.
Okay. Matthias, you were talking about friendly debt collection.
Yeah, maybe not in contrast, but as a slight differentiator. Troy, in the end, as a servicer, is really about friendly collections, and technology is a fantastic way to make it happen. And friendly doesn't mean forgiving or weak or lame or any of these things. In the end, it's also about motivating a consumer to take control of their credit, to pay, in the end, to pay back. And that's also what clients are after, and that's why they take a servicer to provide that collection service for them. And we believe that making it a user-friendly experience, and technology can help a lot. It can help pick the consumer up at the place that he wants to be picked up. We talked about time, what time of day. Technology can help identify best time to call. It can identify next best step, as Johannes just explained, by saying, which channel do I pick? Do I call? Do I even write a letter? Some people like that. That's one piece of it. The other two components are tone and respect. So we make a point of making sure that our communication is more a almost e-commerce style communication, picking up the person on their own very own level in terms of approach and language. And it might also means transparency, explaining. Usually when people get into trouble with their debt or with their claims that they are held up against them, they may not know what's happening, what they should do. They don't know their own next best action. And our applications help understand and help explain the consumer what's happened if they don't take a certain step, or if they take a certain decision. And compared to what the old world is, and Mark and I used to work for the same company, so we do have a good flavor of what it can look like with 6-dot font size letters sent to you on 2 pages in strange colors, explaining a lot, but only being there to force you pay more fees. Technology has helped that, and it will help overcome this. And it's like gravity. You will not stop it. It will only make everybody involved in the ecosystem maybe not happier, but certainly more transparent, and it will be a better process for all.
But does transparency get me my money back?
I think so, because people will ponder the consequences. And, you know, our experience in Germany, at least, is that about 2/3 of the claims are people just created by people having forgotten about them, for whatever reason. And if you help them and say, look, hey, you've forgotten something, and do that in a friendly way, then people are open to, are receptive to that hint, to that help, to that nudge. And if you then explain, if you don't do anything about it, you may run into more trouble than you can think of today. So you better take care of this, and here are many means to take care of this, and to, you know, avoid a small negligence become a big problem.
Susanna?
Maybe at
Yeah, please, go ahead.
transparency, actually, it's one of the points. And it's not being transparent only in the way of the communication, but even the educational side that is
Indeed.
actually here anticipated in towards to the debtor and towards like the process of the debt collection at each stage, like facing and educating even the debtor, what might be the potential consequences of his decisions, and following using the correct tools from the innovations. It's actually like accommodating to the ways of the communication that the potential person you need to speak to is actually like preferred by him. So if the person would like to discuss with you fully electronically, and he would like to be able to make an appointment, make a payment agreement, whatever, or ask connected with the debt, the statement, information about the financial information, electronically, it's good. If he wants to appoint or schedule a call to discuss this with a specialist, then why not to give him the opportunity for it? Same way for the repayment, not the standard traditional way. You have to pay it with the payment order and so on. Why you cannot use the QR codes? Why you cannot use the online payments from this perspective? It's way easier, and it's actually like setting up a trustful relationship in between the debtor and the creditor. And actually, the technologies are the very good source, like from this perspective, and the tool that is helping a lot. And I think that's one of the things what not only the financial market players should look at, but even the technology companies should focus on. What are actually the abilities and possibilities they are giving to their potential clients for using the system, and what are the tools they are giving to them in terms to actually being more effective in debt collection.
You want to comment on
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think the winner in this industry is the one who is able to distinguish best where does the customer fall out of our digital process and into analog, and how can we fix that? How does the customer want to be contacted? Some people, with some customers, shame is a large element. They rather talk to a robot, so they don't have to explain to a human why they ended up in debt. And I think the winner in this industry really is the one who is best able to find that type of communication and type of payment solution that fits best to the customer needs and customer behavior. Hoist has invested a lot in, and we heard that actually for those who visited the previous panel. Someone said companies they need to make a lot of build or buy decisions, and Hoist has fallen into such traps of trying to build for a couple of years solutions ourselves. But one that actually worked really well is the strategy engine we developed that constantly looks for how does the customer communicates with us, and how can we respond to that further down the line in the process. I also think, and that's actually a reason to also visit the next panel, is the topic of this panel is innovation opportunities. And we just heard the gentleman to my left talk about open banking. We experiment in the Netherlands at the moment with a solution revolving around PSD2 with Receive that looks for flexibility. So based on the data we get in, we look at affordability on a monthly basis, and payment plans that we agree adjust to what the customer can afford. And that greatly helps in reducing breakage rate, which is obviously one of the largest KPIs we are looking at, because once the customer is in a mode of paying, you want to keep that customer there until the plan is fulfilled.
Also, I think we were not just talking about the communication, I also think that the next step is then also the payment options, So in our system, we provide to customers more than 60 payment options, made credit card, made all the other stuff. And we have made the experience that, at least in Germany, PayPal is very common. But then if you look into other countries like Spain and Italy, it's not common at all, you know. And so you also have to adapt to different payment options, national payment options in each country, and somehow then try to implement that into your system to give your consumer different touch points of paying such debts. And we have now made the first, so we have also included cryptocurrencies already in the system, because we are heavily now on the client side when it comes to payment service providers and retailers. But 3 weeks ago, we have received the first crypto payment of €150 by a Brazilian debtor, you know. So this shows you that also these type of payment methods need to be implemented by the new collection players.
Evolution.
Evolution, yes.
Yeah, I would
Don't you
say
think
it's a
here
very
the
good
regulatory
evolution.
environment, sorry, don't you think regulators across Europe will respond to this? I mean, we also see, already in Northern Europe, we see, for example,
Exactly.
regulators not really liking us taking credit card payments, filling one debt
Exactly.
with the other.
I know.
Yeah, but I would say that this is the evolution, because we are already seeing even the loans being secured by the crypto investments.
Yeah.
And this is something what's already like being fully normal in the fintech area.
Yeah.
So yeah, but on the other hand, this is driving us maybe even to the other innovations, which are more connected with the AI, and not only the communication and the payments, but from the perspective of even thinking about how the AI could contribute and give the added value to the debt collection, and actually reviewing the potential segments and spaces which could be actually more cost effective based on the behavioral data. This is mostly, I would say, like the amicable part, because here usually traditionally use the biggest part of the human resources, which are very expensive, and searching for the ways how to tackle the debtor, with what type of the communication, and what would work best for the keeping the payment promises rate. This is actually what brings the added value and additional profit to the creditor, and saving the cost on this way. So I would say, yeah, from our perspective, we invested a lot in the AI development, and we are now running a pilot. But on the other hand, in the ways of the communication, and I hope, Johannes, you agree that we can mention it. We actually agreed on partnership, because Exfina is having a great debtor portal together with the omni-channels, and we can say that for the communication, the omni-channels are actually one of the most wanted aspects of the communication, because you need to find the debtor the way that's actually sufficient for him. So it's the great combination. Focus on the area where you are the professional and where you can actually bring your added value, but on the other hand, benefit from the cooperations too. I don't know if you would like to.
Yeah, if I may shortly reflect a bit on what I've been hearing here. I mean, customer centricity, whether you call it friendly or not, right? I think that's exactly the way that we need to go at. There may be different nuances, you know, how you approach people, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings and we want to be approached appropriately, right? Technology is one key piece, but it's as well about it's about the human being at the end of the day.
But Johannes, isn't it great that technology affords that and really makes it happen?
Absolutely.
And you know, we had shame as one feeling. There's also insecurity usually involved, and technology can help address the insecurity as well. And pick, as I'm sure your technology does, and you will explain, and I'll shut up in a second. Just want to get rid of this thought. This is so great when we talk about innovations in this process. The technology helps to much better address these processes, and this will in the end lead to better repayments over time. And that's what that is about.
Absolutely. And I would like as well, Jelle, you to underpin your statement that I pretty much liked. You do not need to fall into every trap on your own, right, and try to basically build everything on your own. It will not work, right? I mean, we know we took a strategic sourcing decision to basically say, whatever sits, you know, wherever we see players that are better equipped than us to basically deliver the service, that we basically take this service as a software as a service, not even running our own applications and infrastructure, where, for example, we partnered up with A-Story and are fully integrated, but consciously decided to develop on our own where we see our key USP. To really keep this in-house, basically, as well, the knowledge, and to deliver this. And that's around our proprietary digital debt collection solution at the end of the day. that brings together a couple of pieces that we have learned here. I think it's around payments. I would like as well here to add open banking payments that can, help to bypass, old credit card and debit card, very expensive debit card payments. It's about adding new channels, right? Of course, from not adding social messenger services, for example, and opening up for two-way communication at the end of the day. Then only we can tap into real automation, right? Because if it's not about chatting as much time as you can, but it's about, providing very low hurdle self-service capabilities to the customers. And this is capable with the current technology that is in place. And we can make use of it.
And I'd like to add still, real time is also important. That's, I come back to the insecurity point. In former times you receive a letter, you send something back, you wire an amount that takes days. Technology, communication, chat, online, whatever, is instantly, is real time. And so all these processes afterwards also have to be real time to provide in the end also comfort that once a deal is struck, it actually is put into effect.
Excellent. One of the things that I heard in the introductions is the jurisdictional variety, I'm going to call it, of where many of your organizations are. When you talk about Europe, Romania, Poland, Germany, wherever, Netherlands. How has technology changed the requirement to be everywhere? Mark?
Yeah, maybe, touching back from my from the traditional collection company, you need to have an operating hub in that country and in this country and in this country, And when we started to build up Ecolec, we said, okay, actually no, because we have technology on the one side, and technology means that you only need probably one or two hubs, namely an operating hub and a tech hub. And the system we have built is that we send out different type of letters, different type of information to debtors across Europe. And we do that with different languages. We do that in different currencies. And we have then one operating hub. And in this operating hub, you have like 20 people speaking 13 languages, So at Ecolec, we started to go in a different way. We said, okay, we need one hub where we have 12, 20, whatever people speaking different languages. But the system and the technology itself is then really sending out letters, sending out emails, sending out communication in different countries with different languages. Of course, we have managed to implement the fee model on a national base. So the German fee model is for German debtors, the Swiss is for Swiss debtors, and the Italian fee model is for Italian debtors. But this can only happen if you have technology, And so the system, as we have built up, recognizes if a debtor is located in Italy, then we take the Italian fee model and we send out the communication. And then if the debtor is communicating back to us, there's an Italian-speaking call center agent, for example, or a chat, whatever. And this is what technology makes happen.
I would maybe just add a small comment that with the technology, you have no borders or actually boundaries in terms where you can operate. Except for the Europe, maybe the GDPR regulation, which is connected with the cloud services and the data where they are located. But yeah, if it's like for the Europe, you are not much limited.
Also there you have, you can, I don't know, organize on-premise and you organize cloud,
Yeah.
And then if a client is located in Sweden and he says, I want to have my cloud provider should be AWS, you just move it into AWS, so it's also technology driven.
Yes, it's also technology driven. I would say that it's one small limit, which is connected with the data, especially for potentially the banks.
Right.
And keeping the data, like if they keep them in cloud, they need to be located. The cloud needs to be located in Europe.
Yeah,
but on the other hand, there is not much limitation otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just to add, I think we have two views on that. One is the delivery model, and here I'm pretty much in line with your views. One of the first things that we did is to the utmost extent get rid of local infrastructure and teams and basically deliver the services from the best operations hub that we have, and this is one hub based on one technology across the geographies. Yeah. In the geographies, we do not have everything on one hub, but in the geographies to have the minimum footprint that you need, right? For example, in legal collection, you may need something locally on site. So I think here, indeed, software as a service cloud services, etc., were a key driver to basically make that happen. Probably as well the pandemic helped us a lot on that, to rethink as well the organizational structure and the operating model, seeing that, you know, it's not always about 50 people sitting together in one building. And this was a key change. As well for the second aspect, enabled by technology, that at least we have driven as well by these changes with the pandemic, with people remotely working together, basically have explored that we are able to set up small product teams with people that, you know, sit in 5, 6, 7 different countries, not necessarily in the same cities, not at all in the same buildings. And like this, we have been able to really hire then the people that we needed, and not that, okay, that for whatever reason we're exactly there and needed a job at this time in this city. So we have product teams that sit in Poland, in 3 different cities, with other team members in Romania, with others in Serbia, Slovenia, wherever, and Vienna. And this is well part of technology, of course, enabled by the cooperation models and technology that is out there.
Matthias?
Yeah, I'd like to throw in a different flavor. I mean, in the end, the collections business across Europe doesn't, you know, technology-wise it may happen in the cloud. In real life, it still does happen on a local level. It is regulated at times, and quite differently so. So in the end, and I'm sure that's all what you guys are doing, because in the end, nobody can afford to be non-compliant and is highly scrutinized by clients on this. At Troy, we've decided to go a slightly different way, and I'm very much along the lines of Johannes in that, saying, what's the USP is something that we do ourselves. What's necessary to be locally effective and maybe even operational at times can be insourced, because that's not what we can do better. Where we can be better is, as I explained, in the communication and the whole customer experience design, and that is more or less across the world almost not the same, because culture is different, but in the very basics and the tools behind is very much similar. So that's why I think the operational model may differ slightly. And apart from that, I can only say, yes, we have an office somewhere, but largely it's a virtual company as well.
Mark, did you disagree?
Well, we set up the company slightly in a different way. You know, I had the focus when we set up the company was clearly on large corporations, having large operations across different countries. And these are like our main clients, you know. So if you look at payment service providers, if you look at retailers, mobility companies, these are our type of clients we are serving. And these type of clients mostly operate out of one hub, and then they have other European operating hubs there. And so this is how we built the system, not only from the collection side, because I tend this more and more also in the dunning area. So we have made the experience in the last 12 months that a lot of clients and corporations tend to still operate the first invoice by themselves, you know. But then if the invoice payment fails, then they also know, and there's a tendency to then outsourcing also the dunning, the dunning of the invoice before it runs into collection. And so we have, in the early days, already started to think about that, you know. So I would definitely go with our model, and I can give that back for some certain industries. It's the model that they say we want to have one API integration. And with this one API integration in you as a fintech company or as a collection company, you need to serve several locations, you know. And so I think it's more or less
It's
even, you
very
know?
similar actually, yeah, in the approach.
Yeah, and this is where technology helps us, you know.
Hoist has always been the Hoist that I know or knew has always been an organization that has been very focused on acquisitions or regional presence. Is that still the same? Is that still the case, or has technology changed that approach?
Well, recently we're starting to go into a little bit of a different path, because in the last few years we've been looking a lot at ourselves and like a lot of other companies saying like we're the best in class and we're really good and now we're starting to think more like, but what if we're not the best?
Mm-hmm.
And let's put that to the test. And I think that is another innovation opportunity in that sense as well, because I think you shouldn't always only look into the mirror and look at how beautiful you are. You should look also at what others can do for you and test whether you're the best or not. And that benchmarking is really important, but then you run immediately into some issues, because outsourced partners have different systems, have different data sets, have different status codes, etc. And I think, and that's another reason, by the way, to also look at the next panel. I think companies that are able to provide a service that enable that benchmarking and to allow us to compare ourselves on the same standards with others, to really, like even on process level, test, are we really the best? Those have a bright future as well, I think. And that's really what we're going to aim for in the years to come. To not assume that we're the best, but to
Test yourself.
check that and to assess where and learn whether we can improve.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Susanna.
I would agree with Jelly on this, because otherwise, if we think that we are the best and there is nothing else, and we do not see any challenges or opportunities that we have to overcome, then in that case we might end up as Nokia many years ago. And I would say that this is not the way and the path that any of us would like to actually follow. So yeah, for the platform, it's very important to focus on the main area and the main services they are dealing, and being really the professional and the best in it, and evolving, developing, and mapping the new areas. But yeah, even like having an open system, like for example, the API being able to map the data in between the databases and give the opportunity not only to actually integrate, but being able to match them and evaluate, forecast, and use them for further analysis. This is actually the next step for the potential, like even AIs, and understanding what could be more automatized, improved, or where you could find the space for the added value.
Yeah, no,
in
I
the
fully
business.
agree. I fully agree. But also to take it a step
Yeah.
further, if you put a couple of partners next to each other and you have a platform where you can compare and where they can see their own scores against each other, then you can really challenge each other to do
You
better.
mean partners or competitors?
It can be all partners. We
What
partner
Jelle
up
means
with
is
other
benchmark
with other
partners, of
collectors.
course.
Some of the competitors becomes partners.
It depends. I mean, if
Okay.
you come to the conclusion you are not the best in class and someone else is, then why not leverage that?
Absolutely. We've just come out of we're coming out of a pandemic. Things have changed. People have been working from home, remotely, whatever the case may be. Has the debt collection profile changed through the pandemic? And if so, how has technology helped to support that?
I would like, if you look at consumers, I don't really think so. I mean, what I see most is that maybe people are a bit more lenient to hear kids in the background or something like that. But when we look at our results across the years and the way we're able to be in contact with customers, I would actually say it's maybe even become a bit easier.
Because they're available.
They're at home, they're available, and their spending behavior is also different. When it comes to small and medium enterprises, it has been a bit more up and down because of different government measures kicking in at different moments, and companies struggle. And at the same time also, where payment holidays have been in place from selling banks and we take over portfolio, it could even mean that those companies have already gone bust.
True.
So there, I think the environment has become a bit more difficult.
I would say, like, connected with the profile, it depends on what kind of the profile we are speaking. If it's the profile of the debtor, so the only area where this could slightly move and differentiate is mostly the amicable one, where you have to accommodate to the communication and to the way. But if we speak about the debtors and their behavior in the legal collections, actually the only thing that could actually affect this process during is the new legislature taken into consideration or applied in the countries as the Lex COVID. But if you take into consideration the debt relief, and if there was already the personal debt relief approved, it's not going to change anything on the way how the debtor should behave or the conditions that he has to meet. And the communication, the way how he behaves, is the same. What maybe changed a lot more, the profile, is actually the financial market players, because not everybody on the market was that much ready for being prepared, going more and slightly switching to the online, not being able to join the office and use the applications that actually can be run as a swing only on the computer in the premises. So like this might be one of the things that really affected some of the players. On the other hand, taking into consideration the profile of the debtor as such, I would say that even in the retail there was not many changes. And analyzing and seeing the data, discussing even with the customers, they didn't see a huge drop down in the legal procedures connected with this. It was connected mostly with the impact of Lex COVID. For example, in Czech Republic, if you take into consideration the enforcement procedure, there was a small change. If the person was actually fired or lost the job and he was getting the severance payment, initially before the Lex COVID, the creditor could apply just one minimum wage to leave to the debtor and the rest being considered as repayment of the debt. After the Lex COVID, you had to leave him the minimum wage multiplied by the amount of the months that he is having the severance payment for. And the rest being actually like taken as the repayment. But this was one of the very few things that were affecting really the enforcement procedure, for example, there.
We saw a lot of opportunity in technology because some of the parts of legal system weren't technologized at all, and at times had to shut down even services which hindered legal enforcement in places where legal enforcement, of course, was acceptable under the given circumstances. So I think if you talk about innovation and technology in the space, public sector technology is not there yet, and I think that opens up another opportunity, and certainly for a different panel. But nevertheless, one observation. The other observation is that consumers have been much more aware of what they are paying what for, because they were almost reminded that they could lose income. And they've, gone back to meeting their own needs. So we do a lot for telco and e-commerce and media providers, and you can clearly see that the payment preference has changed towards, if I work from home, I need to make sure that my mobile phone or my cable or whatever I have is paid.
Because it needs to work.
It needs to work.
Yeah.
And that's some preferences we've seen a change over time. I'm sure this will change back to a different pattern. And in financial services, I imagine it's been different. But that's at least from the consumer side. And those are two additional changes I'd like to call out of the pandemic.
Okay. Any other views before I go to the...
We made the experience that if you look at 2020 and then if you look at 2021, that online payments have been increased by 38% on the debtor side. So if you're a collection company and you're not offering online payments, it will be tough.
Got it. Okay. We've got about 10 minutes left. I want to ask the audience, any questions? Gifford?
Hi, Gifford West from Alpine Tremont. Historically, in the servicing and collections business, there's been innovation followed by regulatory response. So if your clients are hiring you to do collections for you, what do you see as being the highest risk to you? What keeps you up at night regarding regulatory response to the use of new technology in collection? Thank you.
Anyone?
Yeah, I'd like to start at least answering that. So from, let's say, what starts in Northern Europe revolves around the way conduct supervisors look at the way we approach contact and let's say the volume within which we contact customers. Where I see more stringent regulation coming, and that will slowly move down to Southern Europe as well. Just recently, we saw an announcement, for example, in Poland, that there will be upcoming conduct supervision around how often do you contact customers, for example, and that will greatly change the environment. So conduct supervision is one, and obviously, and that was also mentioned in the previous panel, we see a lot of more stricter regulation around AML also in debt collection, and especially, well, we're a bank, we have a banking license. And we operate as a debt collector in various countries. And as soon as you engage, even in a payment plan with a customer, in a lot of markets that counts as a business relationship, and then you're prone to doing full KYC customer due diligence even on debt. So there I see also an innovation opportunity, because there are parties who can jump in that gap and digitalize that for as far as possible. will serve companies like us really well.
I
Yeah.
can only agree. Regulation makes us lose sleep because it creates so much opportunity. Any conduct change or anything, if you can program it into your workflow easily, you have much more control of it. You're much easier, or in a much easier fashion compliant than maybe others do. Others have hundreds of people to train.
Yeah.
They have to monitor human interaction, and that always is a source. Maybe difficult to call out, but I guess in a way, human behavior, as personally mine as well, is always prone to error, and therefore, I think losing sleep on regulation, at least on this panel, I'd be surprised if we lost sleep on that one, but for the dream of the opportunity it offers, really.
Yeah, it's like one of the most important thing Matthias just mentioned is that you hard code it into your system, and then it's there, and then there are no human mistakes. When it comes to GDPR, when it comes to contacting and so on and so on, it's hard coded into the system.
Yeah, because if you come to the system, and this is, I think, one of the basics, if you're a technology provider, you need to face this opportunity, and you need to be able to provide a solution which is easy configurable and which is easily adoptable for any type of the limitation, not speaking only about the GDPR, but even having, like, for example, the legal procedures time frame and setting up. So from this perspective, it needs to be easy to reconfigure if there is any legislative change, which actually is going to limit the creditor or the debt collection agency in the communication towards the clients. And of course, this needs to be very versatile, even from the perspective that if in case you are a debt collection agency, you might have different limitations given by your clients to you, even especially in the area, for example, how often you can contact them, what should be the maximum repeating of calling, and so on. So I would say that this is one of the things that actually the technology solution should be able to provide you, and should be able to be configured easily for the client.
I've got time for one more quick question from the audience.
Thanks. Actually, a very related question to the previous one, just a bit more applied. I'm sure most of you or all of you are aware of the so-called NPL directive that came more or less online last year, November, probably will come into force fully by end of next year, December. My question was, how do you expect that actually to impact your business? I understand none of you will be losing any sleep on it, or at least not, not bad dreams. But what I hear is that, you're hoping that you'll code into your systems any kind of, new regulation, and basically that will bring predictability. Won't that actually uniformize all of your business model? What will make you different in the market, towards your clients, towards the debtors themselves, and so on and so forth. So, great news in terms of uniformity, great news in terms of predictability, but won't that actually also, impact the uniqueness of your business model, the uniqueness of your so-called, individual and, standalone technologies?
So maybe I can start
would
with
have
that.
a short comment, maybe to phrasing, to part of your phrasing, coding into your technology. Coding into their technology, I would say that it needs to be mentioned that it's or a module which is being applied and created. Definitely not coding a process, because this would make any change further on very, very, I would say, complicated from this perspective. And one of the things, like, for example, in the legal changes, if we take the legal procedure, we are usually dealing with them as a workflow, where in the workflow you can modify any step, any action, or any required item or steps, task that needs to be followed on. And you can have the resolutions then move to back, terminate it, and actually even rewrite it in a very easy way. Sorry?
We have also seen sort of for the last at least 12 months that large corporations now think about outsourcing the dunning process as well. So we as a company have already now started to take this process also into our system. So and I think we all have different strategies here. Our strategy is that we are going much more deeper into the value chain of the corporations, and this is why we have already started now to also be an outsourcing partner as a white label partner in the dunning area. So naturally speaking, it may also go then into the invoicing, you know, I'm not sure about that, but we have seen collection now moving into dunning, and then probably the next evaluation step will be then maybe the invoicing part also to be outsourced by the corporations.
Great. Well, many of our panelists will continue to be here throughout the conference and give you the opportunity to connect with them or network with them one-on-one. I'd like to thank all of you for your insights. It's been extremely interesting, very enlightening, and we're getting ready to set up for the next panel. So thank you again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.